We all know who's at fault. We know precisely who it is.
Cursed beast! You plague-ridden rat! Beast! Oh, foul beast! You are not wanted here!
You'll be one of them, sooner or later.
It's all your fault!
A corpse should be left well alone.
We often muse about what we do in the world, what value you bring to it, what accomplishments we can stack. After all, they are what we'll be remembered for. But what if your greatest accomplishment, your long-lasting legacy, was but a farce, an eternal monument to a series of mistakes? By mere chance, its scale grew too large to ignore, its faults too glaring to dismiss, yet its radiance too spectacular to hide away, all laid bare at your feet. What then? What then? I've made it no secret on this channel that I adore Bloodborne. It's a game that I hold close to my heart, and I likely will until I die. It showed me how far a game can push a unique combat system. It told a tale of a world whose lore sends shivers up my spine to this day. And at a time when life just sucked, it taught me how to heal. Unfortunately, I was again at a low point when I came crawling back to the nightmare. I didn't know what I was looking for this time. Healing? No. There was nothing to heal. A power rush, perhaps? There was no power lost to begin with. Or what of mere entertainment? My mind could not bear such distraction. I needed to stew over what I had done, to face the music, however discordant it may be. In hindsight, I wanted punishment, and luckily for me, the Old Hunters DLC promised just that. I hear them. I hear them every day. An outcry with no retort, picking apart a heart laid bare with senseless composition. A purgatory of voices I can't hear but see every day. Can I blame them? They're right, after all. No sense in fighting that. And if they're right on the contents of the work, perhaps they're right about me.
Their children too. And their children forever true.
After some eldritch horrors and an ominous narration, the player is transported to the Hunter's Nightmare. Unlike the nightmares of the Frontier or Mensis, this one emulates a world we're already familiar with, the Cathedral Ward, only metastasized by an indescribable growth. A growth that both obscures and elevates. Inhabiting this wasteland is a congregation of lichen, dogs, Yarnamites, and, most strikingly, hunters of old. The ones who first patrolled the streets long before we ever stepped foot in Yarnum. Like the player character, they boast a remarkable penchant for slaughtering beasts, wielding weapons that are horrors in their own right. Seriously, the Beast Cleaver is simultaneously the coolest and most unnerving weapon in this game to me. Hats off to whoever designed this. However, it isn't until our blades cross that we gain insight into the toll all of this has taken on them. There's something about these distorted screams that just hits me every time I fight them. It's as if, in this nightmare, victims can't even express their anguish like a human. Or are they victims? When traversing the cathedral ward, the player can begin to notice that most of the wandering beast patients cower before you, even without bearing a flame. These were the same patients we saw in Old Yarnum, where an outbreak infected the populace. This population was ultimately cleansed by the hunters of the Healing Church, forever locking away this section of the city to rot. Despite being transformed, they're still people, no? Even if they could use a shave. Even if they weren't people, the beasts clearly have no interest in fighting you, let alone their tormentors from a past life. Hell, they've likely been slaughtered over and over for God knows how long this nightmare has persisted. These hunters are willingly doomed to a cycle of killing these patients countless times. And for what? I don't see them grabbing blood vials from the dream. They're clearly content repeatedly abusing these creatures who have given up all avenues of resistance. If you were in hell, would you do anything different from what you did in life? Clearly, no matter how skilled or proficient these hunters were, they chose to repeat the same actions that damned them here to begin with. As we continue through the nightmare, revisiting the Grand Cathedral, grabbing a pendant, it's a surprise tool for later, and failing to be Neo from the Matrix, we finally have our heading. In the distance, far beyond the canopy of towers, floats an amorphous cloud, illuminating the night sky. What could it mean? No matter, for the road ahead is quite literally paved in a river of blood. Following the creek to its source, we find emaciated, no, destroyed bodies in increasingly large piles. By the looks of the riverbed and the system of sewage gates, they appear to be part of the stream itself. This truly is hell. These people, what used to be people, these patients, are all stuck here. No one can leave. Even if they could, there's no guarantee that they could change. And if I'm here, can I even change? Am I but the permanent product of what I've done? A wasteful tragedy? Finally, we locate the river's source, a detestable pile of corpses hidden below ground. But the true horror has yet to reveal itself.
Please, help us. Sign this. The great terror looms. Have mercy upon us.
Throughout the base game, we hear Ludwig's name invoked in reverence. The first hunter of the Healing Church proper, he was rumored to wield a sword of light, wielding insight into the cosmos. But like all clerics of the church, he succumbed to the bloodlust of the hunt, transforming into whatever the fuck this is. He attacks with ferocity, speed, and all-out aggression. Instead of his trusted sword, he now wields an arsenal of claws, hooves, and bile. A sunken man, to say the least. We'd be remiss if we didn't oblige his end. With the beast outmatched, the fight appears over. That is, until a hidden gift restores old memories.
You were at my side all along. My true mentor, my guiding moonlight.
With his humanity at least partially restored, Ludwig rises to his feet. No longer a beast, he now fights you like a man. This boss touched me in a way that none other had in this series. Perhaps it was the pure chance of the time that he entered my life, or the long-standing themes he carries. Ludwig taught me a core lesson that'll carry on for the rest of time. Sometimes, to pick yourself up, you just need to remember what makes you great.
Tell me, good hunter of the church, have you seen the light? Are my church hunters the honorable Spartans? I hoped they would be.
No, Ludwig. I'm afraid not.
Just as I feared. Then a beast-possessed degenerate was I, as my detractors made eminently clear. Does the nightmare never end?
Perhaps it does, oh holy blade. But our sins may be too steep for us to climb out. Even if we can, if our legacies, the works we spent careful precision to construct, crumble before us, are we really left with anything? Save for the promise of an eternal darkness? I might be resigned to that fate.
Good hunter, have you seen the thread of light? Just a hair, a fleeting thing. Yet I clung to it, steeped as I was in the stench of blood and beasts. I never wanted to know what it really was. Really, I didn't.
Neither did I, Ludwig. Neither did I. Once we ascend the stairs and traverse a series of holding cells, we are introduced to the research hall, a multi-floor labyrinth of man-made horrors. But before we can begin exploring, we have to deal with Twiddle-Dee and Twiddle-Fuck over here. Yeah, they kicked my ass. I noticed I was having a hard time hitting my parries when the enemy model would get up close, because the barrel would extend past them. Plus, this particular mob was cracked as hell. Like, Jesus, go crank some 90s or pop heads in Siege. But luckily for me, in those holding cells we passed earlier, I found some brass knuckles that were perfect for throwing off her animations, providing me a great window to perpetually stagger her. I've never known you, Gracia, but wherever you are, I pray that McDonald's always gives you that extra large fry at the bottom of the bag. You deserve it. Or blood vials? I don't know what kind of fast food chains you got in Yarnum. After activating the lift, see, I told you that pendant would come in handy, we can finally make our way up to the hall where we find flocks of enlarged head patients. This place was the research wing where the Healing Church conducted their own experiments to create creatures capable of communicating with Great Ones, the cosmic beings littered throughout Yarnum. Now, this isn't anything unique in the world of Bloodborne. We've seen similar projects in other institutions like Bergenworth or the School of Mensis. However, up to this point, we've only ever seen the results of their grotesque works, not the inside view of the process it took to make them. Throughout all levels of the hall, we see the tables where these patients were operated on. We see the monsters who oversaw their pain. We see the toll that it takes on each and every one of them. These works, all unable to achieve the purpose that they were designed to do. Failures in their own right. I can't help but see the similarity between them and my own work. Unable to see, and in some cases even hear, these patients always cry out to a single person.
Lady Mary, save me, please. I don't hear anything.
These tinkered experiments, all forced down a path against their will, treat this name with reverence. I can only imply, based on this fact, that she was some form of comfort for them. A cacophony of voices crying out for the pain to stop. And did she do anything to stop this? Was she anything more than a sweet nothing to pacify them? She did nothing to alter the course of the work, from my estimation, aside from making it more palatable. Instead of protecting the very people that trust her, she lulled them into compliance. After adjusting the staircase, we can finally access the large door separating us from the clock tower. It's here that we are shown the church's first sets of prototypes. The Living Failures, attempts at making the celestial emissary from the base game, are a peculiar fight. Much like themselves, their movesets are initially disappointing. They succumb to their injuries with a handful of hits before spawning even more of them. It's honestly a bit of a throwaway fight. Quite sad creatures in their own right. However, once they're pushed to the brink, they reveal an untapped commune with the cosmos. They may not have become direct lines of communication with the Great Ones. They may not have delivered the enlightenment that the Healing Church desired. But they could do that. They clearly can wield the power of the cosmos to some degree. And if they can do that, can they really be called failures? Once these creatures are dispatched, the player can enter the astral clock tower. And before them lies a corpse, basking in the light of the tower.
Should be left well alone. Oh, I know very well how the secrets beckon so sweetly. Only an honest death will kill you now. Prevent you from your wild curiosity.
Lady Maria is an interesting figure. Under the tutelage of Gehrman and allied with the Healing Church, she proved her dexterity with a blade. Although a more stoic character within the church, she clearly felt remorse for what she had participated in. As the victims of the research hall demonstrated, she had some form of affection for them. She made their suffering easier to handle. Whether this atones for her actions is another story. Now, trapped in the nightmare, she guards something from us. She hides away some form of truth that she warned should not be disturbed. I just want to exit this hell. I want to go back to the life I once had, to be the creator I once was. And if she's a necessary casualty, so be it. What have I done? This yearning, it never rests, does it? Even when it blindly lashes out, desperately hurting those around me. The voices still haunt me. The constant reminders of the sins I've committed.
However, this is unironically the most broken aspect of Dark Souls 2's design, in my opinion. Sure, it's a bad healing system already, but it can't possibly... For reference, players with heavy equipment loads in Dark Souls 1 have 9. This is straight up bullshit.
I was too concerned with the ambitions inside my head to realize what I was becoming. I don't like what I made. It horrifies me that it could be the first introduction for someone to that title. But I can't just hide what I did, and I can't just blindly move on to pursue my old ways. Maria is a testament to that fact. I hate what I've become. I want to atone for it. Truly, I do. But I can't do so until I kill the very thing that I've become. After revisiting the lift and discovering a secret shrine, we uncover Lawrence's skull. Lawrence was once a student of Master Willem at the Bergenworth College. You may perhaps recognize him from the mid-game cutscene after we touch the skull found in the Grand Cathedral.
Fear the old blood.
However, captivated by the potential of the old blood to commune with higher awareness, he dismissed his mentor's warnings and founded the Healing Church, the very institution that began the events that sent Yharnam down the path of the bestial scourge. His ambition to ascend damned countless people to a life of servitude within the dream, to unwilling experimentation and other unknown acts of cruelty. By all accounts, one can argue that this hell was one of his own making. The hunters, the beast patients, the research hall, the old blood, all of it lay bare at his feet. As the first vicar of the Healing Church, he was a cleric, and like all clerics, his bloodlust would have consequences. Consequences so grave that he has the twisted distinction of transforming into the first cleric beast. The skull description states that it represents his humanity and the past memories he lost when he transformed. In this new state, he is damned to forever seek this, despite the fact that if he were to ever attain it, it would do nothing. No matter what he does, he will never again have what he once lost. Upon revisiting the Grand Cathedral with the skull in hand, Lawrence awakens. Once we return to the clock tower, we unveil the secret that Lady Maria gave her life defending. We are transported to a rainy, waterlogged locale, a testament to the twisted logic of this nightmare realm. As we make our way along the shell-ridden path, a familiar monologue chimes in.
Atonement for the wretches, by the wrath of Mother Goss. Mercy for the poor wasn't child. Mercy. Oh, please.
The figure that emerged from the fog has no quarrel with you. Rather, it passes you by, invoking a curse upon the members of the Bergenworth College. Describing them as murderous fiends, it gives us insight into the twisted hell of the fishing hamlet. Here, we discover a populace that has been afflicted with a unique scourge of their own. Instead of fur and claws, these unfortunate locals were bestowed fins and scales. A terrifying visual twist in this ever-evolving cosmic horror. As we progress through the fishing hamlet, we encounter mages, fish dogs, and... wait, no way. Is that Jeff? Since when did you hit the gym, big dog? As we progress through the settlement, the horrific truth begins to set in. Long ago, an outbreak was caused by a deceased Great One washing up on the hamlet's shores, transforming the inhabitants. Upon learning of this, the hunters of the Bergenworth College led an expedition to the town with the goal of retrieving any assets that could potentially aid in their cosmic ascension, no matter the cost. Gehrman, Ludwig, Lawrence, and Lady Maria laid waste to the hamlet, slaughtering the townsfolk. Once they extracted what they pleased from the locals, they descended upon the corpse of Kos, the Great One that washed on the shore. After hacking and mutilating the corpse, the hunters discovered that it was pregnant. Seeing this as the opportunity they had been waiting for, they claimed the infant for research and experimentation. I can only assume, like all things related to Bergenworth and the roots of the Healing Church, that the child met an unfortunate end. This recontextualizes everything that has been shown to us up to this point. The opening monologue was the curse invoked by the townsfolk, ultimately powered by either the will of Kos or its long-lost child. All those trapped in the nightmare were hunters who were part of Bergenworth or its subsequent branches, forever damned to try and satiate their never-ending bloodlust. Ludwig, Lawrence, and Maria, culprits in this massacre, are trapped to forever ruminate on their actions. Upon clearing the initial portion of the settlement, we find a well, located at its center. After climbing down and surviving Jeff's brothers, we find Maria's recuyo. Its item description reads that she tossed it down this well when she could stomach it no longer. Her affection for the patients wasn't some malicious pacification. It was her attempt at atonement, no matter how small. She recognized her actions for what they were, a path of atrocities. It makes her chilling words all the more clear. Some questions just shouldn't be answered. Some mysteries shouldn't be solved. And some acts, no matter how destructive, should never be revisited. It makes her sacrifice to stop us from coming here all the more justified, and it makes my decision to face her all the more monstrous. I can't change the past, but I can try to end this nightmare, for better or worse. After traversing the cave system, we find ourselves at a humble cove. And it's here that we find Kos's corpse, accompanied by its abandoned child. Awakening from his mother's corpse, the orphan of Kos was the infant that the college stole and likely experimented on. Since it's a Great One, its physical form may have perished, but it remains forever trapped in limbo in this nightmare. As a newborn Great One, it wields the power of a god. But it's just that. A child. stranded, alone, and terrified. Reliant on its raw power, guided only by instinct, the orphan resorts to combat, unwilling to return to the suffering it once endured. Although this infant locks us in this purgatory, it's locked here too. I'm done letting my blind ambitions obscure my actions. I will no longer be shackled by the doubt of who I am. I have no interest in pursuing some vague concept of atonement. I don't believe in that anymore. There's no forgiving what I've done. Nothing I do will ever change that. But I can change this. Poor child. I can't begin to imagine what you've been through. I know you're scared. I know you've been bestowed gifts that you will never have the guidance to learn how to wield. You never asked for this. None of us did. It's a hell that you have every right to hold dominion over. But we don't have to stay here, drowning in the sins of the past. Take my hand, and I promise you will return to the cosmos and embark on your long-awaited voyage among the stars. There's something greater beyond those clouds. We only have to dare to see it.
Sweet child of Kos returned to the ocean. A bottomless curse, a bottomless sea, accepting of all that there is and can be.
When I started this playthrough, I had no clue what I was looking for. As I progressed through the hunter's nightmare and the hell that it promised, I reveled in the punishment it provided. Doubt was my comfort, ambition my compass, atonement my hope, and my old self, the creator I used to be, that was my ever-elusive memory that I yearned to relive. But that's no way to live. I can't drown myself in the doubt brought about by my own mistakes. I can't remain trapped in the false promises of my ambitions. I can't delude myself with the lie of atonement. In my past, well, Maria would have some choice words for that. I can only move forward and do what I do best. I know I can't right every wrong, but I can try. Thank you for watching.